What do you mean, how did I get here, Terrence? I walked and saw you outside getting mauled by a psycho. Little did I know it was you and him jockeying for the #1 spot. No, why are you not at home asleep? Why are you even outside? Then Holly explained that at first she was asleep. Then she heard someone knocking at the door. She figured it was the wind and ignored it, but the knocking continued. She had asked for Terrence to go see who it was at the door, but she never got an answer. She reached her arm over to shake Terrence just to discover that he was not in bed and that the knocking was still happening. It began to annoy her, so she went downstairs to see what was going on. She looked out the peephole, but there was no one there. She figured they gave up and left. Then there was a knock at the window in the kitchen. She rushed over to see who it was, and yet still no one was there. It was at this point that she began to feel frightened. Taking a step back from the window, Holly went and grabbed a knife, tightly clutching it with both hands. The darkness of the house was giving her even more anxiety, and so she went to turn on the lights, but when she flipped the switch, nothing happened. The knocking began at the back door now, and she was too afraid to even go near it. It was then that she began to yell out Terrence's name, hoping he would appear to save her, or if he was the one messing with her, that he would stop. No matter how much she yelled for him, Trevor never came. The knocks at the back door became more aggressive, as if they were trying to knock the door down. Holly backed herself into a corner, still clutching the knife. Suddenly the knocks stopped, and everything fell silent, though this did not give her any relief. It was a deafening silence. No wind, no branches, no cicadas, no crickets, nothing. It was as if the world itself just stopped moving. It was then that there was an eerie creak of the back door opening. Holly's heart sank as she saw a shadow figure standing in the hallway now. The two simply stared at each other, then the figure quickly started moving towards Holly. She ran quickly out of the kitchen to the front door and began running down the path, yelling for Terrence. She dropped the knife at some point on the path. When she finally stopped to catch her breath, that is when she saw Terrence fighting the man and quickly stepped in to save him. Fuck, Holly, why couldn't you just stay in the house? Did you not just hear my story? A fucking man, ghost, spirit, or whatever was coming after me. Besides, if I don't leave the house, you're probably dead right now. You should be thanking me. I should be thanking you, Terrence said with a chuckle. This is the worst case scenario right now. What do you mean? I said there were 4 of us last time, and the game doesn't end until there's only one left. Yeah, so what's your point? Terrence then pointed at the closet door where Trevor's dead body. That's 1. He then pointed to the front door, stating, that's 2. Next, Terrence pointed to himself, saying he was 3. Then he pointed to Holly. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. She instantly understood now the gravity of the situation. She has stepped foot into the abyss and entered the game. There can only be one winner, or the night will not end. She looked up at Terrence and stood up slowly, backing away from him with fear in her eyes. Are you going to kill me? Terrence. What, Holly, stop. Are you going to fucking kill me, Terrence? Answer the question. Terrence stood up and tried to reassure Holly that there's no way he was going to kill her and that they would find another way to end this night. Holly questioned him how, and Terrence just stood there silent. He had no idea. She began to ask how long could the night last, and if that thing that chased her out the house is still around. It could kill them both, or force them to kill each other. Terrence sat back on the couch and began to think, when Holly suddenly suggested, what if I leave? I'll just go outside and we'll be separated. What, Holly, that's stupid. Stay here with me. You don't know what's out there. I don't know what's in here, Holly spouted at Terrence. Holly, you know me. I wouldn't hurt you. I didn't think you would hurt anyone. I thought you were a good man. I am a good man, Terrence shouted. Oh yeah, there's what 5 people no longer alive because you, a good man, decided your life was worth more, right? How do I know right now you won't choose yourself over me? And how could I stop you? At least if I'm not here, I'm giving myself a fighting chance, or at least a couple extra minutes of life before a good man comes to take my life. Terrence just sat there in silence. He couldn't say anything to Holly as she left and slammed the door behind her. He just sat on the couch with his face in his hands and just began to scream. He couldn't believe what was going on. Terrence simply sat there silently for a long time until he heard something from behind him. It was Trevor. His body was still mutilated, but somehow animated. Maybe from Terrence's depressed state, he didn't even bother to turn around and face the shocking scene before him. Trevor began to speak to Terrence. "Woo, I can't believe it. You just let her walk right out that door." "I remember when I tried to do that, and well, it didn't end well for me," Trevor playfully said while showing the axe wounds on his back. "But you know that. You were there, remember?" Trevor then began swinging his arms as if he was holding an axe. "Man, were you a lumberjack or something? Because that form was solid." "Shut up. Shut up, yeah, shut up." "Well, you made sure of that, didn't you? You made me shut up forever. But I guess I'm speaking now, but let's not deal with semantics." Trevor, now in front of Terrence, kneeled down and moved Terrence's hands from his face. "Hey, look at me." Terrence turned his head away from Trevor, which made him angry. "Fucking look at me. You can't take your handiwork. Why do you think I look like this? That I tripped and fell in a pit of fucking knives? No, each one of these gashes was made one by you. Now go grab that fucking axe and finish this game. It took, 5 to 6 hits before I died. That bitch won't take even half that. Make it quick, do her a favor." "Fuck you," Terrence yelled as he pushed Trevor away. Trevor began to egg him on then, telling Terrence to get angry to let the abyss take him. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door and Trevor got eerily excited. Terrence, at this point, was standing up pacing. He wasn't paying attention to what Trevor was doing as he walked closer to the door. Suddenly, Trevor yelled at Terrence to get it together because they have another guest that wants to speak with him. Terrence paused for a moment and looked over at Trevor. That's when Trevor suddenly swung the door open and the person there was the same psycho that almost killed Terrence. He was standing at the door with his head dangling, barely attached to his neck, still from the cut that Terrence made. Terrence, fearful, eyes turned large and his breathing became faster. He was fidgeting a bit. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Suddenly, he finally understood what was going on. He took a close look at Trevor with bloody footprints left with every step. And now the man who almost killed him is back, and he doesn't know what might happen. The man tried to speak, but his head was unattached, and just gurgling sounds were made. The man then grabbed his head and moved it back to its rightful place, then twisting his neck to check that it's attached properly. With every twist, a loud cracking sound was made. "Wow, that's better," the man said as he looked over at Terrence that was still in a state of shock of what's going on. Terrence's fear of this man and his dismay that he has returned as left frozen in place. "Why are you looking at me like that? You act as if you're seeing a ghost," the man said as he looked at himself. "Oh right, you are seeing a ghost. But nothing to fear, I'm the one that's dead, remember?" He then took his finger and slid it across his throat. A clean cut. "But don't worry, I'm not a vengeful spirit or anything. You win some, you lose some. Like this loser over here," he said as he pointed at Trevor. "This guy is talking about an axe and, oh, my back hurts so much. A swift death is the best, so go grab one of those knives and just get this over with. Hey, here's an idea. Sneak from behind her and do it that way. You don't have to see the light leave her eyes. I know what you're thinking, that's the best part. But for some reason I feel like it wouldn't be that fun for you." "No use the axe," Trevor intervened. "Not only is it funner, but it's also an arm workout. Talk about two birds." Then Trevor and the man began arguing back and forth whether Terrence should use a knife or an axe, the merits of which one would be more satisfying. The two began arguing louder and louder until Terrence finally yelled for the two of them to shut up. Suddenly the two stopped talking and just silently stared at Terrence, who stared at them back. Suddenly, speaking in unison, they said, "Well, the night won't end until there's only one. There can only be one person left, or the abyss won't be satisfied. What will you do, Terrence?" It was then that Terrence heard a voice, a familiar voice. "You could kill her the same as me." Terrence turned to see Robert sitting on the couch, with his back turned to Terrence. Robert put 2 fingers to his head and said, "Boom, there's nothing easier than that." "Speak for yourself," Ashley said as he came from the kitchen. "It took 2 shots for me. You don't want that pain, laying there in a pool of your own blood. It was difficult even coming up with the words, 'Help me,' and this fucker shoots me again." "Fair point. So what will you do, Terrence?" Robert said. "I'm not going to do any of those things to her. She's my wife. I'll figure out some other way. I won't kill her and I'll end this night. There has to be way. There must be a way." "Right," Terrence said as he dropped to his knees, tears in his eyes. "The night won't end, so I have plenty of time to think. Or we could just live here forever. Yeah, why not? We can just live here. As Terrence looked up suddenly, they were all standing over him. In unison, "Don't fuck with us, Terrence. This only ends one way and you know that." Then they all chanted, "Kill her, kill her, kill her." Terrence just sat there cowering with his eyes closed and covering his ears as they all yelled at him. Suddenly the man said, "Fuck it, if you won't do it, I will. I almost killed the bitch anyway until you stopped me." He picked up the knife and left out the front door. "I guess I'll finish what I started." Terrence saw this and yelled for him to stop. The man already left the house. Terrence chased after him as the others just made way and allowed for Terrence to leave. He desperately chased the man, yelling, begging him to please stop. That he will figure out a way to save her, she doesn't have to die. The man didn't listen. He continued to run the path, laughing with joy, can't believe that he gets to come back and kill again. Terrence ran as hard as he could to catch up to him, and finally he caught him and grabbed him by the shoulder, turning him around. The man turned around with a shock expression on his face as Terrence began to wrestle the knife out of his hands. Him and the man went back and forth until Terrence squeezed his wrist so hard he was forced to drop the knife. The man then told Terrence, "You can't stop me, someone has to do it. The night has to end. You keep trying to turn your head from reality. Why don't you realize you have no choice? You never have since that first night. No, I won't let you hurt Holly. I'll find a way. I'll protect her." The two men then fell to the ground wrestling. Terrence began to easily overpower him as he got on top of the man. But he kept spouting how Terrence can't do anything to stop him. Holly will die no matter what. Terrence was fed up with his speaking and grabbed the knife that fell to the floor. He then stabbed the man, who began to laugh. "What is stabbing a dead man going to do, huh, Terrence?" "Shut up," Terrence said as he continued to stab the man over and over and over again. Slowly the man stopped fighting back. Still Terrence continued to stab him. Then slowly a hand raised up and softly touched Terrence's cheek. The rage began to die down, and when Terrence looked down, the person he saw wasn't some psycho. It was Holly, her bloodied hand on his cheek. "Holly?" Terrence shouted as he grabbed her hand that was on his cheek. Holly tried to speak, but blood filled her mouth and she couldn't say anything. She just coughed from slowly choking on her own blood. "No, no, 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 please. God, no, Holly, I'm sorry. I didn't. Holly's eyes slowly closed as she passed away. Everyone that Terrence killed was standing behind him. Robert, Ashley, Clarence, Trevor, the psycho. They sat and stared at Terrence, sitting on a bloodied Holly from being stabbed multiple times. Suddenly, Holly showed up alongside them. She finally died at the hands of Terrence. Slowly they disappeared one by one. Robert and Ashley just silently left. Trevor, with an angry look on his face, disappeared as well. The psycho laughed manically at Terrence before finally fading. Then Clarence put his hands on Holly's shoulder before leaving as well. Holly was left alone to look at a crying Terrence hugging her body. As the dawn began and light slowly began to seep into the forest, Terrence picked up Holly's body and walked with it all the way back to their home. He took into the house and cleaned her up, wiping all the blood from her body and wrapping her in her favorite blanket. He then left her laying on the couch as he went outside and dug a hole in the backyard. Still, Holly was there watching everything Terrence did. With a blank expression on her face, he buried Holly in the backyard and sat in front of the grave crying. A smile slowly inched across Holly's face and she got close to Terrence whispering, "Until next time," in his ear, before disappearing as well. Terrence quickly turned his head, but no one was there.